Hi, and welcome to part 2 of lesson 2 about selectors in jQuery. I hope you enjoy this one. Thank you. Now, moving on, let's look at the filters. So here's one. These are child filters. So go ahead and get these over in the right spot. Here are the child filters. And so this is just saying the first child, last child in the set of elements that you have. These are the child elements of the parent in this given context. Okay? So the first of type, it's a similar concept. It will be the first of that type, then the last of that type, then n children. Now this is different. So it says there's a formula or whatever. We'll get to that. Now the n just means, let's say n is equal to 3. So it'll select the third. Okay, fine. So what about this even odd? Well, it'll select even or odd. You know how evens and odds work. But now, let's again say this is 3. And then it says x n plus y. This is just a generic formula. It could be any type of formula. And these just represent integers that you can substitute anything into. N equals 3. And the result of this equation equals basically the same thing as this. It will eventually just equal some number. It'll equal some number, and then every whatever number that is, it will select it. Okay? So, next, we have a very similar type of thing. This last child is just saying we're not starting from the beginning of the selection of elements that we found. And always the beginning is the top of the DOM, and then the bottom is going to be the last child. Okay, so we're starting at this case from the last child, but we can use the same formula and the same ideas there. Similarly, this is type, and it'll just do the same type of stuff using those types of formulas. Only child gets elements that have no siblings. No siblings, okay? It's just saying we have a parent and we have a child. This guy has no siblings, so he's selected. Okay? Only of type, you get the idea. Okay, so what we want to do is move on to the next one, and that would be position filters. That would be position filters. Okay, so we got first, last, pretty simple. As I said, the top elements are going to be first, last elements are going to be last, top or bottom are going to be last, right? So greater than, though, programming, we start out with 0. So if we say greater than the first element, when we say the first element, we are talking about this one, which is already 0. But then we're saying greater than. So we say, if we're saying greater than the first element, or in other words, 1, then the actual answer of the one that's greater than the first element is 1 in this case. It is, let's say that these are IDs. Now these are all IDs. But it would be this ID, the element with this ID that is selected. Okay? Alright. And then the less than, similarly, if you were to select 3 less than, okay, so when you say I want the third element, well, 2 is the third element. Well, it has to be less than 2. So the answer, the one that I'll select, is ID 1 again. Okay, so that's simple enough. Even and odd, understandable, right? Okay, have a nice day. Form filters. Now, I covered a form filter, the checked form filter. Oops, wrong area. The checked form filter in the previous video and article. Okay. Did I put out an article? I'm not sure. And that was checked. So we looked at that and we used it for that. But all these other things are sort of self-explanatory. I like the focus. It's interesting because it's basically saying where is the pointer at. And we can do interesting things like that, like say, no, we want to say, address fields, and then focus, and then we could do some sort of animation or some sort of color to indicate that the address fields are being focused on, or say, oh wow, you're going to enter your address, I better not write this down. That would be kind of funny if a browser did that. Like pretending to dox the user. Yes, so the rest of these are pretty self-explanatory, but you can do a lot of fun things with them. So let's go ahead and continue to the content filters. Are putting some text into there, and it is saying if any of the elements have this text within it, then we want that. Excuse me. Now, has is saying that if you have any elements that also conform to these element rules, these selector rules, then give me those. Okay, it's just an additional filter there. Okay. Now, we have parent gets elements that have one or more child nodes. So here's a parent right here. That's a parent. This is a parent. And ones that don't have children. Oh, that's all these. Those don't have children. Our last set of filters. So we got animated header, which is just like, what elements are animated? What elements are headers? What are hidden? Here's the visible one. Hidden, visible. Language, not. Just make sure that from everything that you've selected that you don't have this element. That's basically what not is saying. Root is just saying we're selecting the root of the DOM. So that's like the HTML. That is a root. Is it not? So then target. Target is more interesting. So basically, if you have a URL like this that you click on within your site, and you put the this class, you can actually reference that and gather that information using the target filter. So you could say div and then filter target, and this will select the div with the this class. Creating your own filters. Okay. This is how this would work. you would want to say, let's say you have a educational website, and the educational website, you're looking to see if the level is available for a user, if they're able to actually do the level. And this is based on the level of the user and the knowledge points of the user. Okay, so this is reading module 1, the ID module 1 element, and then it's putting this filter through it. And as we can see here, it will output a bool value. Okay. The user value is represented by level 5. Is it greater than or less than is we want to say minimum level has to be less than those amount of points. In order for this to both be true, the minimum level has to be surpassed by the user, and the knowledge points has to be surpassed by the user. So this, in order to be available, has to both be true. Now, this is kind of dumb. Why would we want to have to actually enter the value of the user's level and the knowledge points of the user every single time? That's just dumb. Okay. Well, I agree with you. Just don't yell at me. And this is what we would do to make it work. This is nothing. This is next. But this is what we would do. We'd put in these variables. We'd put in the user level and the user points into a function. So we go in and we put them right there. We have the user level right there. We're parsing an int and sort of initializing it within this area. And then we compare it just like before. And that is how you create a custom filter within jQuery. Now, we also have to talk about context. Performance and context. Now, we did look at something like this before. So, what does this mean? This means that we're looking for list items within only unordered lists. What if I told you that there was a hidden parameter here? There is. And its name is context. And it's always set to universal if it is not set explicitly. Okay? So, we can limit the context, in other words, to only unordered lists and then look for lists. So it's a lot more efficient in that way. And that's, what jQuery is all about. Now, tell me something. What was your favorite part of this video? And how much you learned? I want to hear it. Type it in the comments, and I'll learn about what you learned that you liked to learn. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Have a good day. I hope you enjoyed that video on selectors for jQuery. That was part 2 of lesson 2 of selectors. Next time we're going to be covering jQuery collections. All right, bye.